Hey everyone! This week on Sailing Gypsea, we arrive in St. John in the US Virgin Islands, where we get our legs moving, do some hiking, snorkeling, and fix our finicky motor so we can stop jump-starting it. I'm Stephanie, and this is Travis. Together we bought a Hunter 42 Passage that we call Jibsea. We sold almost everything that we owned and moved aboard. After living on Jibsea through a Toronto winter, we decided that we had to get down south. Though we've got very little sailing experience, we decided to leave it all behind in our home country Canada to live out our dream in sailing the world. We're so pumped to share this adventure of a lifetime. What are you going to do with it?
I don't know. Does it fit?
Wrong
Just
fool.
kidding.
This one!
There you go, weld it to a ring.
We're married! We're married!
It's official!
It's official!
It's my precious.
Oh my gosh, your hair is all crazy too. Let's show everyone the other thing you found.
Oh yeah, found a boat pole too.
Yeah, and it's the exact same one as our blue one, so they match. And it's like in perfect condition.
Yeah.
We put it off the back of the boat in the anchorage, and nobody came to claim it, so there's now one on each side.
Yeah.
We're gonna go check out the Great House ruins up on America Hill. On our way to the American Hill ruins, we passed by the Cinnamon Bay Estate. Established in the early 1700s, the Cinnamon Bay Estate was one of the most prosperous sugarcane operations on St. John. This is the horse mill where the cane juice was squeezed out between iron rollers. It then flowed by gravity into the boiling room here. The spent cane would be stacked in the bagasse shed here to dry. Then it would be used as fuel for fires under boiling kettles. And now we're taking a shortcut back through so we can head back up to the American ruins. Almost there. This is quite the hike. Good thing there's a little bit of breeze and the sun's not beaming through because we got some weekend sailor legs, I tell ya. Man, I'm dripping. I think we're almost there. Let's take a look. This estate house was used as a guest house in the early 1900s. It's said to have also been used as a headquarters for rum runners during the Prohibition days. What an amazing view it is up here, and it was definitely worth the trek up.
So what did you think of the view?
It was nice.
Yeah, super cool view of Maho Bay.
Maho Bay.
Maho Bay. I never know the names. This is a great spot. Is this beach on the...
We were staring at this water that looked so inviting during our hot hike, and now we get to cool off.
Run. Jump in. Run, run, run. For the last month, our boat has been very finicky on starting. So what I did first was checked the positive connection on the starter to make sure there was power going to it. And there was, so I knew it wasn't anything to do with the battery side. So we were always able to jump start it when we really needed to, which almost seems to be every day we start it. So the other day I disconnected all the 12-volt connection points and I cleaned them up, sanded them down, and made sure all the corrosion was off, just to see if maybe it wasn't getting enough power to kick the pin in and start the motor. We did that and it worked. And it worked for a couple times and then it stopped working. We had a spare starter on the boat, so I'm going to swap that out. Hopefully that's it. I'll show you what I'm looking at. So we're going to take the starter off and put the new one on. Luckily we had a spare. So all it takes is, there's a bolt. It's hard to show you, but there's a bolt on the top side of the starter and on the bottom. So first, you want to kill the power to your 12 volts, so you make sure you have no power going to the unit. And then take off 12 volt power supply right here. Take off the top bolt, the bottom bolt, and it should just slide right out. If you're saying to yourself, man, that guy should clean up his wires, trust me, it's on the list. I definitely will clean them up. Bolts came out beautifully. No rust, nothing, just on the tops. But the starter, now I think that's 30 years seized onto the crankcase. So that's going to take some hammering. So we get the starter out. But the new starter looks significantly different than the old starter. It's like half the size. But I don't know if that matters, but the gearing is the same size, so it should work. The outer ring is the same size. It just doesn't have this protective case, and it's just a little smaller. But newer starter, probably more efficient than a 30-year-old starter. All back together. Motor starts. Sounds a little different than the original one, but maybe that's because it's a smaller one and it's having a harder time starting. I'm going to pull it all apart again, and then I'm just going to look inside the gear case again and look at the cogs on the starter just to make sure there's no uneven wear or anything like that. Just pulled it back off just to take a look at the gears to make sure there's no scoring or anything, just to be 100% sure that the starter is the one for this motor. But I think this is just a cheap starter, so might have to get a better one. Back to the drawing board. So what I'm actually going to do now is, because the gears in the old one look good and it definitely started the motor without any problem or anything like that, I think the problem lies in the starter solenoid. I think that's what you call it. So I'm actually going to take the new starter solenoid and see if it works on the old starter, because you can tell the old starter is just way better built. It has a rod that goes all the way through to this protective housing, as you can see. And the new starter's just got this dinky little throw gear that when it pops out, it's just connected to a rod, so I can see this being a problem over time. When this starts, it has a dust protector in there, and it's got a rod that goes all the way through, and that's held on here. So you know when this throws, it's not going to bend over time. Like this might actually bend over time because there's nothing supporting it on this side. There's nothing wrong with the motor itself, just the solenoid. I'd rather see if I can just replace that and keep the bigger guy. Let's see how that works. It's called a magnetic switch, and the one on the new starter fit perfectly on the old starter. I'm hoping that's all it was. I can continue using the old starter. So we're going to give it a go right now. So that sounded much better than the new starter we put on there. The new starter, when I started up, made like a raspy start, which it started the motor, but just sounded like it worked too hard. I guess maybe everything new isn't always the best. Tinker a little bit and made it work. Pumped. So I'll give it a couple goes throughout the day to see if it continues to work, but I think it will. Got a good feeling. Cool.
We left Great Lameshur Bay this morning to head over to the salt pond mooring, but the mooring field was full. There was only like 5 mooring balls there, and you're not allowed to anchor, which is most of St. John. So we're back here, and we're just gonna dinghy over the 2 nautical miles to head over to Ram Head, which is supposed to be a nice hike with a nice lookout, because Ram Head kind of like juts out. So we're gonna get ready to do that. I don't like the idea of having to wear shoes with socks.
Bare feet every day is the best part about sailing. Bare feet and no shirt.
The views are super pretty, and there's some interesting looking cacti here. You can check them out. Turk's Head cacti are indigenous to the Turks and Caicos, as you may have guessed from its name. They're found in the Turks and Caicos, Puerto Rico, the USVIs, the Bahamas, and Antigua and Barbuda. On mature cacti, you'll find pink pieces, which are actually fruit. The fruit's often pursued by iguanas, lizards, birds, and Travis.
Little pink tamale. They're sweet.
Try it. Poisonous. Ew, Travis! His tongue's gonna fall off later.
You probably
Shouldn't do that.
should Google them. Do not eat.
Whew, we made it to the top, and there is a really big breeze here. It's super windy, but I love it because this Canadian does not regulate heat well. I'm melting. That was really fun. We just got back from the hike at Ram Head and some snorkeling. We've had some clear water to jump into after. That is like the best way to cool off after a hike.
Well, just being able to swim every day now is just like, yay.
Yeah. We haven't been able to spearfish though, because you're not allowed to spearfish
Yeah.
in the national park, at least, which is where we've been kind of stopping throughout all the bays. So there's no spearfishing, but you are able to snare lobster, even though it's May. It's different than the rules in the Bahamas with the season. You're allowed to snare lobster or take them by hand as long as they're not females bearing eggs. But we haven't really seen any, so we haven't really been doing that. But I miss hunting for our own food when we're snorkeling. That's like half the fun, I think.
Yeah. Well, we've seen a couple lobster, but they're, just females with eggs.
Yeah. And a lot of little fish. One Nassau grouper I think we saw. That's it though. Sorry we couldn't film the snorkeling.
Yeah, we don't have a GoPro.
We'll have to work on getting one shipped to us when we get somewhere where we can get it shipped. I don't know if that's going to be Grenada, because we're going to be figuring out all the different islands that we're going to be hopping down to get there pending COVID restrictions and all that. So at least by Grenada we should have one, hopefully.
Yeah, we probably won't get one until we're stationary in Grenada.
Yeah.
We definitely enjoyed our time in beautiful St. John.
Thanks for tuning in, and as always, a special thanks to our Patreons who are supporting our journey.